Hello and welcome to this edition of Northwest Newsweek. An investigation into a sudden death in Long Lac is underway after OPP responded to an unresponsive 20-year-old victim on Monday at a residence there. The victim was taken to Geraldton District Hospital but was pronounced dead shortly after. A postmortem is scheduled for this week to help identify the cause of death, but police are asking the public for any information they may have as well. COVID-19 is starting to spread throughout the region now following the announcement of several new cases in 3 district communities. At the tail end of November, Marathon had its first official case of COVID-19. On Monday, 2 more cases were reported, and by Thursday, there were 5 active cases in the town, with 3 connected to the nearby Barrick-Hemlo mine, which has declared an outbreak. 1 case has also been reported in Manitowaj, and on Friday, the virus made its first appearance in Greenstone after 1 case was reported at a long-term care facility in Geraldton. Adam Brown is the CEO for the North of Superior Healthcare Group. That agency is asking those who live outside the district to attend health facilities in their designed zones. Brown says the uptick in cases, especially in Marathon, is giving people pause and letting them think about preventative measures.
Well, you'd hate to speculate, but what we want to say to the public is that this is our opportunity to refocus, and let's be honest with each other that in our small communities where we had no cases for 9 months, we got slack. And so it's our chance to think about hand washing and wearing masks and physical distancing and all those good public health messages that maybe we started to ignore a little bit.
As expected, the Thunder Bay District will be moving from the yellow to orange of Ontario's COVID-19 restriction framework on Monday. That was announced Friday by the province due to rising local cases over the past few weeks. The regional hospital's COVID-19 incident manager says the change won't have much of an impact on their facility, but he hopes the added restrictions lead to fewer positive cases in the district. Corey Nordstrom has more.
Thunder Bay will be moving to the orange restrict levels starting at 12:01 Monday, the halfway point of the province's 5-level system. It will force bars and restaurants to close earlier and reduce the numbers in gyms and some other public spaces. The regional hospital's COVID-19 incident manager, Dr. Stuart Kennedy, says the move to orange doesn't affect the hospital's current protocols, but he worries that if the spread continues, it will eventually make its way to the hospital.
We have 1 acute care hospital in northwestern Ontario, and we service over 250,000 clients and patients. So we can't get overrun because we can't afford our nurses to be off with COVID-19. We can't afford heightened patients in our departments, our emergency department.
At this time, 5 patients with COVID-19 remain in the hospital, though 2 are close to being discharged. The threshold to open up their COVID-19 unit remains at 6 active cases in hospital, but it's a bit more complicated than that. Kennedy notes that they recently had 6 cases at one time, but didn't sound the alarm.
We were really close, but then we review each case individually, and then we knew 2 were going to go home and self-isolate at home, so we're able to sort of call things off. But we're within sometimes hours of opening it up, and then we look at the status of the patients, and then we can actually decrease our increased concern.
As case numbers have grown elsewhere, some hospitals have begun limiting surgeries and reducing capacity in their facilities. The opposite is actually happening here in Thunder Bay, where capacity has risen from 84% last week now to 90%.
What we are doing is trying to do more outpatient surgery or more short stay surgeries. So if we have to decant on a more rapid basis, we can decant. And we have our Department of Surgery, our nurses, and our administration all on board.
Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
A week after COVID cases in the Kenora area spiked to over 20, the Northwestern Health Unit is breathing a sigh of relief after watching active cases drop to just 8 as of Friday. The spike in cases prompted that part of the region to move into the yellow or protect level in late November. Medical Officer of Health, Dr. Kit Young-hoon, says initially the cases were not linked to each other. A few were related to travel, meaning the health unit couldn't find a direct source. However, as contact tracing and testing of close contacts began, she says that's when the patterns started to emerge.
Because there's so many close contacts getting tested, the numbers increased even more. And so we saw our numbers go up further, but a lot of those that we were identifying were actually close contacts of previous cases. And so now that that testing has stopped, the testing of close contacts has essentially fizzled out, we are seeing that the numbers are decreasing, which is great.
When asked if this decrease in cases could lead towards a shift back to the green level, Young-Hoon says the region will need to be monitored for some time before that could happen. She adds the health unit will continue to monitor the situation as they evolve in Manitoba and the Thunder Bay District. Nearly 24 First Nations across Canada, including some Anishinaabe communities, will remain on boil water advisories past March of 2021 after the Trudeau government admitted Wednesday it won't meet its deadline to repair every water system. Nearly 100 First Nations have seen their advisories lifted since the Liberals were elected in 2015, but others continue to wait with no new deadline being set. Kayla Karim reports.
Indigenous Service Minister Mark Miller announced today that the federal government will spend an additional $1.5 billion between now and April to repair water plants in First Nations. But the government will not meet their March 2021 commitment to lift all long-term drinking advisories. And Miller blamed it, at least partially, on COVID-19.
And while the pandemic has not in any way changed our commitment to continue working with Indigenous peoples towards closing those gaps, it's posed new challenges and obstacles. It has caused delays in lifting long-term drinking water advisories in some First Nations communities.
Niskandiga First Nation has been waiting 25 years for its water system to be upgraded, and their boil water advisory could be ending soon. But over a dozen other Nan communities could be waiting much longer now. Grand Chief Alvin Fiddler, who hails from Muskrat Dam First Nation, which is also on a boil water advisory, weighed in on the announcement.
Well, it was, first of all, disappointing and disheartening for communities that have been waiting for a long time for them to be able to access clean, safe drinking water.
Miller says the deadline was ambitious, but the planning and execution was needed from both sides.
Those communities weren't sounded to say what time was reasonable, nor was their planning done. Over the last 4 or 5 years, we've been working in communities to lift those diligently, as you've seen.
Our communities have been saying for a long time that water is a priority, that water is, it's not just for, drinking, but it's also to disinfect your homes and to, especially while we find ourselves in a global pandemic that, we need water to stay healthy.
Kayla Karim, TBT News.
The MP for Kenora is reacting to Indigenous Services Minister Mark Miller's announcement, as his riding is home to several First Nations, some of which still deal with issues of access to clean drinking water. Eric Malello says safe drinking water is not only a basic human right, it's also an issue that isn't partisan in any way. He hopes to work with Miller to complete the process of removing all drinking water advisories in Indigenous communities, while at the same time holding the government to account. Malello understands COVID-19 has created some problems, but he believes the government is using the ongoing pandemic as an excuse, and notes that construction and maintenance of water treatment and distribution systems are an essential service.
There are more challenges now, but I've been having conversations with different chiefs across our region, across the country, actually, who are saying that contractors are able to go into their communities and still do that work. It's on water systems. It's essential work, and that there's no holdback there.
Malello is happy to see the allocation of an additional $1.5 billion towards tackling the issues of water quality in Indigenous communities, but he wants to see a more robust plan from the government as it moves towards that goal. The issue was also brought up at Queen's Park this week. Kiiwetinoong MPP and Indigenous relations critic Sol Mamakwa was calling on action from the Premier if they want to further reconciliation. The NDP member pointed to the month and a half that members of Niskandiga First Nation have been away from their homes, waiting for their water treatment facility to be fixed. The community has been under a boil water advisory for 25 years, and the latest setback has only heightened frustrations. Despite drinking water being a federal issue, Mamakwa says more support from the province would go a long way towards creating trust with these First Nation communities.
If Ontario wants to develop the North, and if you want our nations to work with you, honor Treaty Number 9. Bring the people clean water. Why is Ontario continuing to ignore the crisis?
We will continue to press the federal government to ensure that they meet that commitment, and of course we'll continue to work cooperatively with our First Nations partners. The member is absolutely correct. This is something that we all need to work very, very hard on, and he has certainly has my word and the word of this government that we will continue to press the federal government to meet their commitments.
Namaqua asked that the province stop its game of jurisdictional ping pong and assist in solving the problem. With the holidays inching closer, the pressure grows to return evacuated members of Neskantaga to their community. Many hoped-for dates have come and gone, and there still is no firm timetable for their return. The Victoria Inn on Arthur Street was recently made exclusive for Neskantaga. Around 230 members have been staying there for over a month since they were evacuated from their community due to the unsafe drinking water. Chief Chris Munoz confirmed Monday that the planned December 4th return date wouldn't happen due to technical programming issues with the water treatment facility. A test run lasting 14 days must be completed successfully before the residents can return. Munoz was hopeful that test run would begin Tuesday, and he has his eyes now set on a return date of December 14th.
We are homesick, even myself. We want to go home. We're tired. We don't like living in a hotel. You know, it's not fun for us. It's not a vacation. We all want to go home and spend Christmas at home. And I'd like to thank the City of Thunder Bay for their hospitality. We've been getting a lot of support from Thunder Bay.
Munoz says even with the rising COVID cases in Thunder Bay, his members do feel safer since the hotel was closed off to all non-members. Ontario Provincial Police have now released the name of the woman killed in a house fire in Sioux Lookout last month. The fire broke out at approximately 6 o'clock in the morning on November 19th at A.J. Wesley Place on First Avenue, where emergency services found one of the units on fire. 2 youths were rescued from the building and neighboring units were safely evacuated. However, a third individual was located inside the building by firefighters, deceased. They've now been identified as 37-year-old Clara Ash of Sioux Lookout. It has been determined Ash succumbed to smoke inhalation. Members with the OPP's Criminal Investigation Branch, along with the Chief Coroner and the Ontario Fire Marshal, are continuing to investigate the cause of the fire and are encouraging anyone with information to come forward. 2 of the region's federal MPs are reacting to the Trudeau government's fall fiscal update. Here in the Northwest, the news of an additional $500 million for regional relief and recovery funders like FedNor was a welcome sight. Federal Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland made the announcement Monday. The extra funding is in addition to the almost $72 million FedNor was given so far in 2020 to deal with pandemic-related needs. Kenora Conservative MP Eric Malello has a list of concerns with the fiscal update, but says he's happy to see FedNor get a bump. Liberal MP Marcus Pulowski is also pleased to see the extra funding making its way to Northern Ontario.
Well, there's $500 million more going to the RRRFs. So that includes FedNor, it includes the Futures Development Corporations. And I think they've done a really good job in catching some of those businesses which otherwise fall in between the gaps.
Maybe one bright spot I will say in this economic statement is that there is FedNor funding available for small businesses, but I've been hearing from many, whether they're seasonal outfitters, whether they're year-round small businesses, many people have been telling me that it hasn't been enough and that the program's actually been very slow to roll out. So we'll be monitoring that closely to make sure that funding gets to those who need it.
Coming up after the break, we check in on the many projects underway at schools in the Rainy River District. Yards at several schools in the Rainy River District are about to become construction sites for the next couple of years as several projects begin to take shape. One of the biggest being announced this week in Rainy River. Corey Nordstrom has details.
Kenora Rainy River MPP Greg Rickford was in Rainy River this week as part of an announcement that will see the province providing $10 million towards the construction of a new school in Rainy River. The build will consolidate both the primary and secondary students into one building. At the same time, the facility will also provide preschool and daycare spaces. Director of Education Heather Campbell says it's been a long road to get to this announcement.
We initially applied for a renovation to house a kindergarten to grade 12 consolidated school in the old Rainy River High School. Unfortunately, that exceeded the budget of that project, so we went back to the Ministry of Education and are so very grateful for the funding to now create or construct a K-12 brand new facility.
A release from the province states that project will be completed by no later than the 2023-2024 school year. But that's not the only project underway. In early 2018, the province announced it would be combining North Star Community School with Atikokan High School to create a K-12 facility. Campbell says a contractor has already been selected and preparations are underway.
We presently have some portables on place, and we are moving students and staff shortly to begin that construction project. It will take approximately 2 years because we have to phase it. We are keeping the Grayson Hall as well as our resource center and technological education shops.
And at Donald Young School in Emo, construction of a new daycare is well underway that, when complete, will create 49 new childcare spaces and is price tagged at just under $3 million. A growing theme is the integration of daycare through to high school into education facilities in smaller communities, something Campbell says has been well received by both parents and students.
It's really a seamless way for students to get familiarized with the school setting at a very early age. So when they enter JK or SK, they feel very familiarized with the school setting, they recognize school staff, and they see their siblings.
Completion of that project is expected to take place by mid-2021. Corey Nordstrom, TBT News.
After months of searching, the command positions at 2 OPP detachments in the eastern part of the region have been filled. The police hubs in Marathon and Greenstone both serve multiple communities and patrol hundreds of kilometers of highway. Adam Riley spoke with the new detachment commanders about the challenges each areas face.
This is my first day, but it's so far so good.
In 2005, Cam Ducharme started out as a cadet at the Sudbury OPP detachment. 15 years later, he has attained the rank of Staff Sergeant and is now the commander of the Marathon detachment, which also serves Manitouwadge. While it can be a challenge to cover a large area, Ducharme says he feels most at home in smaller communities, and despite the limitations that COVID-19 has placed on everyone, both he and his staff intend to be involved in the community as much as possible.
And again, I think it's just important for our members, again, the men and women who serve the detachment here, to get into these communities, to do things like foot patrols and just get out there and show these people that we police that we are people as well, that we're not just police officers, we're members of our communities. You know, we have children here, family here, and that it's important for us just to get out there.
Ducharme isn't the only new detachment commander in the region. Like Ducharme, as of November 30th, Staff Sergeant Brent Genereux has taken command of Greenstone's OPP detachment. Genereux, an 18-year veteran of the OPP, got his start in Ignace and most recently served as acting detachment commander in Pekajikam during last year's evacuations due to forest fires. In addition to working in smaller detachments and his time served with the OPP's emergency response team, Genereux also has a history of helping officers with PTSD and other mental health issues, and he believes that will play a major asset for him as detachment commander.
I'm a big believer in if you take care of your people will take care of you. It's important for our communities. Part of our priorities here is our people, our work, and our communities. And if we take care of our people, if I take care of our people here, you know, our communities and our work are just going to be better.
Genereux says he looks forward to working with not only Greenstone's mayor and council, but also with the chiefs and councils of the First Nations who reside within the Greenstone area. Adam Riley, TBT News.
After the break, COVID-19 will not stand in the way when it comes to bringing toys and a holiday cheer to the children of Ontario's far north. The RCMP's Toys for the North event kicked off Friday morning with the Canadian Forces Hercules aircraft arriving at the Thunder Bay Airport. 3 full skids of toys were unloaded for remote First Nations as organizers are making sure thousands of children have a gift this Christmas. For the 6th straight year, North Star Air has partnered with the RCMP for the Toys for the North charitable drive during the holidays. Although the mission is the same, this year is slightly different as campaign organizers need to take social distancing measures in account. Gathered from Southern Ontario, all the toys will be taken to a local warehouse to be properly sorted next week prior to being flown up to the recipient communities. North Star Air's Karen Matson says their priority this year is making sure the process is safe for everyone involved.
So this year is going to be certainly totally different. We do plan just a small contingent of traveling with the group just to record and just see the expressions on the kids' face. They will meet us at the airport. We will stay on one side of the fence. They'll be on the other as we offload the plane. And I think Santa and I will just sing some Christmas carols with the kids and just spread the cheer.
And having the coordination from North Star Air, Gardewine, the military, and the RCMP to have this facilitated up to the remote communities is amazing. It's a bit challenging, but all measures will be in place to bring that joy.
After the toys are sorted, they will be air transported to 4 First Nation communities on Saturday, December 12th via a North Star Air flight. And it's beginning to look a lot like Christmas in the Northwest, and in Schreiber, residents who get into the holiday spirit are being rewarded. Light displays are popping up all over the community, helping bring the festive spirit during a year that has been full of negativity and isolation. Members of council will be touring the town as part of an annual display judging contest, which started a few years ago. Households don't have to sign up to participate and will be judged on a variety of factors, and the winners will receive a cash prize. Due to COVID-19, though, Mayor Dave Hamilton says winners won't receive their prize quite as quickly as in years past.
This year, I guess the only thing different is we're going to have to mail out the gift certificates, to keep the social distancing in check, but we will still be traveling around looking at all the beautiful lights. We're looking forward to doing this again, and I'm sure the people will be appreciative, as they always are, and hopefully bring a little bit more cheer to the community in these rough times.
Hamilton says there appears to be more houses putting up lights this year and chuckles at the idea that some residents will be receiving a gift from the town instead of a bill or other payment request. And that's all for this edition of Northwest Newsweek. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.